Hi, I'm Peter Alsop, and our song to chew this week comes from my Take Me With You album. I wrote the song Letter to Mr. Brown in 1986, more than 36 years ago. There was a backlash going on then from so many child sexual abuse cases coming out in the news that everyone who worked with children, teachers, Boy Scout leaders, choir directors, even parents, became very careful about not touching children at all, unless it was absolutely necessary, because they were afraid they might get in trouble. I wrote this song so we could talk openly about the effect that these kinds of fears were having on us, and to model a bunch of healthy and safe ways that adults might touch children as we physically help them go through their day. So here's our song to chew for today from my Take Me With You album, The Letter to Mr. Brown.
Dear Mr. Brown, from the kids in room 2, we're writing you a letter like you taught us to do. We all got together at lunch this noon and decided we'd better do something soon. 'Cause lately you've been different, and we don't know why. Did we do something wrong? We're sorry and we'll try to act a little better. If we've been bad, we all think that you're the best teacher we've had. You used to hold our hands when we walked across the street. You used to help us wash them just before we went to eat. And you used to kneel down and help Jose tie up his shoes. And sometimes you would thumb wrestle, usually you'd lose. You used to boost up Ray and Alice on the monkey bars. You used to put your arm around us when we got our stars. Whenever we played tag, you were it the most. You'd even help Tyrone when he'd forget to blow his nose. You used to help us button up our coats when it was chilly. You used to mess our hairs up with your hand when we were silly. And you used to hug us sometimes when we fell and hurt our knees. But you never touch us anymore. So Mr. Brown, please tell us why you're mad at us, and honest we will change. You still help us learn to read and add, but now you're acting strange. You never made us nervous or kept us after school. You never touched us anywhere that was against the rules. So Mr. Brown, please tell us what we did, and we hope you read our letter, 'cause it's signed by every kid. Signed Robert, Susan, Rosie, Lee, Ian, Mark, and Russell T, Jay and Alice, Nico, Ray, Daryl, Thomas, Russell A, Ellen, Jennifer, and Mary, Lynn, Felicia, and Gary, Jose, Reggie, Barbara, Joan, Harold, and your friend Tyrone.
My dear friend Michelle Browerman played the piano with me on guitar and Miles Tackett on cello. Of course, child sexual abuse is still happening. It's still in the news, along with political conspiracies and stories about Catholic priests and tales from the Me Too movement. Even though there is plenty of sexual abuse prevention information available online, it's still difficult for parents to know how to bring this subject up with our kids. We didn't get lessons about how to talk with children, about being safe when we became parents, right? And of course, we don't want to scare our kids unnecessarily. Many adults have concerns about touching or hugging kids. Parents and step-parents, school teachers, principals and preschool aides, doctors and nurses, Little League coaches and Brownie leaders have all learned to avoid touching children for any reason except for emergencies. And even then, we want to be sure there's another adult in the room because of fear. because we don't want to get into trouble for doing something wrong. It's common knowledge that kids, and adults too, need physical connection and human touch in caring and safe ways. Kids especially need appropriate touching, and when they're not touched appropriately, they're even more susceptible to inappropriate touching. Generally, no one gets in trouble for touching a child appropriately. The trouble happens when a child is touched inappropriately. Our kids need to know that they're important and loved and cared for, and touching them lets them know that in a very powerful way that no words can quite convey. 50 years ago, my dear friend Irene van der Zand started a group with Timothy Dunphy called Kid Power. You can find this wonderful organization online at kidpower.org. They present wonderful programs for children, teens, and parents about how to empower children and families to be safe as we're growing up together. They will come to your town and present a workshop with you or your organization. And both of my daughters went through their program. And more recently, my granddaughter and grandson have taken their training too. It's a real gift that keeps on giving for the rest of that child's life. They help parents too. Kidpower.org. Check it out. As we heard in the song, children often take responsibility for adult behaviors. They felt it must have been their fault that Mr. Brown suddenly stopped touching them. So when adults stop hugging and touching in healthy, appropriate ways, children often blame themselves and think that they must have done something wrong to deserve it. It's really the job of the adult to set clear sexual boundaries with children. Even a simple hug can be inappropriate if the adult is feeling sexually aroused or needy and using the child to meet their own needs. Healthy children, like healthy adults who have learned to trust their feelings, often know when something feels creepy or not quite right. And it's confusing and abusive to children and to our own inner child to mix what should have been a caring hug with a goal-oriented sexual caress. This song gives a number of examples of ways that teachers touch and regularly help children in appropriate and safe ways. It also models honesty and healthy negotiation between the kids and their teacher. They noticed something going on with Mr. Brown, and rather than ignore or discount their funny feelings, they wrote a letter to him, and every one of the kids signed it. This letter brings it out in the open so they can talk about it. I wrote this song for people to play it with kids and then answer their questions and talk about some of the things that the song addresses. It's exactly what we're doing here, chewing on the song. One of the many suggestions that Kid Power gives families about how to keep kids safe is to make up a special password that just the child and the parents know. Then, if the parents can't make it to meet you after school or pick you up from a party or event, they can tell the special password to someone else and ask them to meet you. Then if someone shows up at school or at the mall and says that your parents sent them to get you, just ask them what the special password is. If they don't know it, don't go with them. There are lots of other questions which will come up as we discuss these ideas with our children. So I hope you will take the time to do that. And of course, it's always okay for a parent to say, gee, I don't know the answer to that question. How do you think we should handle it so it would be safe for you? That's enough for today. I'm Peter Alsop. Please subscribe to this podcast, and I'll be back next week with another song to chew. Bye for now.